Now, so technically we're live right now, but nobody's here yet. But on the replay, we're live. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, man,
I'll leave that all up to you.
let's chill over there, man. Is that your now, do you live near that pond? Or do you have to like drive to go there?
No, it's a 30-second walk out the front yard. The cottage I'm staying at is right on the lake itself, and ain't nobody here in the wintertime.
Really? So this is in what,
Yeah.
Virginia? Here, I'll tag
Nope,
you.
this is in the Poconos in Pennsylvania.
Poconos. I've heard of the Poconos.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been to the Poconos. Is that near Pittsburgh?
Fine.
Or up
Nope,
in the
nope.
Okay.
It's a nice little mountain range like Mulberry.
Oh yeah. Cool, man.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in that little cottage?
Since October.
Wow. And so we'll get into that. Let's see. Let's make sure we got people coming in. Well, we got nine on the Facebook page. Let me see if it's up on YouTube. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. All right. Yeah, I got 7 there. Okay, so we get started. Hey, Renee Rogers, I sent you an email. I don't know if you got it, but I just want to let you know. Okay, let's see. Boom, boom. Yep. Okay. And here, and there, and there. All right, we're good to go. Let's see here. What's going on, everybody? All right, we're getting back in the saddle here. Got Keith Hill in the house. We were just talking about some things that we'll get into. But I mean, hey, first of all, it's great to have you back.
Thank you, brother. Good to be back. Good to be back.
Yeah. You look good, man.
Yeah.
You look like you're doing something right. There's a lot of something going on. Let's say that. Man, I woke
How's
up
the
go ahead.
Yeah, you're bright and beautiful. How's my lighting here? It seems kind of dark. I can flip. It's okay.
No, man, it's very serene. It's very cool. I'm digging it.
All right.
So
You've got some big overheads.
Do you really? Well, whatever makes you comfortable. I mean, you look cool.
This is good. Thank you.
So you've been living in a cottage in the Poconos of Pennsylvania since October. Nobody's there. I guess it's a touristy area when the weather gets warmer. So you're there by yourself.
Right. Right.
I know a little bit about, I think everybody can kind of attest to, we've had enough conversations at the end of last year. It was just an absolute, going through the eye of the needle thing. It was just incredible, like from July through the end of the year. But, so one day I get up and I'm watching all this, with the show, with myself, with Morgan, with, everything. And watching how people are going through it, which is amazing. And so I see this video of you going out on this pier with frozen ice and breaking the fucking ice open. And the sun comes up or starts to come up and you dip into this. You don't dive into it, you dip into it. And I don't get on social media too much other than to share what I have to do for what I do. But I picked up enough pieces of it because you did several. And I picked up enough of what was said and written to pick up on the energy of it. And I thought it was quite fascinating because I look at things in the sequential way that they're presented to me, but also in what's happening with the field, because it's all the same thing. So I just wanted to kind of like dive into that and go, hey, how did that start, man? Were you just sitting in this cottage and there's snowing everywhere and you're, self-introspecting and all that stuff. And you just get this idea, or were you told, or what happened?
It's interesting. I was just a quick thing. I was like, man, I wonder when we're going to talk about Mulberry Mountain visit. And then it took the ice thing for this to happen. So this is funny. It's been just over 3 weeks now. I've been cracking through that ice and jumping in there. It started, apparently this is a thing, dude, that a lot of people are doing it. I had no idea about it until I was catching up with a friend a few weeks ago. And he goes, where are you at these days? And I told him where I'm at. And he's a dear bro. He's a very close friend that always has great recommendations for health and wellness. He's actually I met him at an ayahuasca ceremony in Costa Rica years ago. He was the maestro there.
Hmm.
And so when he called me and I told him where I'm at, he goes, "Why aren't you jumping into the lake?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "No, seriously." He goes, "Why don't you look at check out this guy Wim Hof online? He's all over YouTube, and understand the benefits of cold therapy because there's a ton of them."
Yeah.
So I did, and I went 20 seconds the first day, went a minute the second day. By day 3, I was doing 2 minutes. Today was my longest. I sat in there for 7 minutes straight.
Jeez.
Completely numb when I got out. And, there is a ton of benefits online. I can only talk about the ones that I'm experiencing. And the first one is they do say your dopamine level goes up
Yeah.
250%.
Yeah.
And it lasts. It's not like the old days of doing coke or anything and you crash and you're miserable. This is a natural mood enhancer that for all afternoon, I'm just, I wouldn't say blissed out, but my mood is completely changed. I got a ton of energy. I'm starting to see the aches and pains go away. It's starting to work with my headaches better. And my whole relationship with the cold has changed because of this. I would walk out in the morning just to warm my car up and I'd be shivering and shaking. Now I go out in my t-shirt and I don't feel the cold hit me like it does anymore. So we'll see where it goes, man. I'm going to keep at it as long as I'm here, which should be till spring. So
I guess there's going to be plenty of cold and snow and ice
yeah,
for you to
yeah,
continue.
yep. I'll keep.
He didn't take anything. He's doing. In fact, I'll just pull up the thing while we're talking. What about and so you'll see Jen Gilly Esparza. He's taking cold dips into a frozen pond or lake. But okay, so and that's one of the things that, because there is a lot of stuff out on it right now, and there has
Yep.
been for a while. But it is picking up, and that's the one thing I do remember. When reading about it is the uptick in the dopamine, and I also know that too because I used to take cold showers. I don't do it very often anymore, but when I was growing up, I did it a lot, and it was very energetic. But I never thought about it until people started talking about it. But what about you talked about day 1, 20 seconds, day 2, a minute, and then you did 7 minutes today, which is your 10th or so time. What about the mental part of it? Like when you dip into the water, especially the way you did it, because you didn't dive in, you just kind of went in. And I mean, what the hell were you thinking? What was going on in your head day 1 at 20 seconds and day 10 or whatever it is, 6, 7 minutes?
Well, I'd say the first week or so. I mean, I even had trouble going to sleep at night because I knew that my spirit was not going to let me jump in that lake the next morning. I'm looking at the weather saying, "Damn, it's going to be 22 degrees and the wind chill is going to be 6 and it's going to be miserable." But it took about a week of that fear to finally get to a place where kind of looking forward to it.
Right on.
But Todd, I just, if anybody's looking to try it, I would say certainly do your research. And there's a ton of people online. I just found the first person that made sense to me. He's the only person that said dip your head under right away. And I'm not seeing anybody else do that. So when I get in the water, I get in semi slowly, but once it hits my waist, I go under to get my entire head wet, which I think probably makes it even colder for me because the wind chill on the lake is hitting my cold neck. But I try something, I just stick with it. And then it just increases after a minute or two. When you're in there, you're just vibrating. My entire skin feels like it's cold, but I can't feel anything, right? And they say past 2 minutes, you start to feel a bit of euphoria. And at this point, I wouldn't say it's euphoric, but it's certainly, there's like a life force charging through me that I've never experienced before. Everything is just on.
Wow.
Everything is vibrating, the colors, the sound, the birds that I hear, the neighbor dog barking. It's just, I'm completely alert. And for me, a guy who's a bit neurotic and has been told I've had ADHD in the past, and I've just got thoughts always spinning around in my head, this monkey mind.
Yeah,
That all
exactly.
goes away completely. It goes away completely.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, this ADHD thing. Okay. Because ADHD, Asperger's, all that. I mean, these are characteristics of what we might call star seeds. I don't know if that's even the right word, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is and I know this because of what happens to me when I'm in dream state. Everything, I don't remember so much the specific sequences and situations and, the memory part of it, but I do remember the energy, and it's a constant multi-streaming as we're building, right? I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, but I get that with the ADHD because these streams are always going. They're always going. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't think that's something that is a liability for people. I think it is part of
Right.
our new reality in some way, as some of these other things that have been misdiagnosed, in my opinion, or whatever you want to call it. Hey, let's watch just a short clip just to give you a little feel for what's happening here. Allow Zoom. It's not gonna let me do it. Oh yeah, it is. I think it is. Okay. What happens now? Hope I can do this. Share screen.
Boom.
Is it there? No. Damn, that sucks. Well, that's the advantage of using the other one. Yeah, it's not gonna let me do it. Somehow it's blocked. Anyway, but yeah, I would recommend anyone to. How many videos you got? You got one for every day?
No, I'm not doing that. I've got like 3 up, I think.
Okay, because I think I must have saw the first one, because there was a whole process that you went through. And
Yeah,
and then
that was a rare day. That was a day I had to
okay,
actually take the shovel and break through a hole
right.
to get into.
Right. And then the one I just was going to play, I think can't be that old, but it's like a minute long, but it's done very well. But yeah, so I guess, in regard to what was the mental experience like, because I visualize like, oh my God, because I have gone into cold water, but not like that. That's insane. And it's, like you're talking to yourself like, oh my God, this is freaking cold. The last time I did it was in Sedona, and I wouldn't go like beyond my waist. I just didn't feel right. I don't know what it was, because I didn't have the balls, whatever the case is. But you're saying that the mental goes away. It feels like what you're saying is the mental goes away quickly, and you start to realize all of the things that are going on. It sounds almost like you took a mushroom or something. I can feel what you're saying, like everything becomes more vibrant. It would be interesting to know, had you done it a long time ago, what the experience was like compared to what it would be now. I wonder if part of what you're picking up when you come out of the water is both the benefit of the cold water, but also you're able to maybe it increases your antenna, and you're able to see things more vibrantly in regard to the universal energy that's expanding.
I think so. It feels like a different world when you're in there. I was talking with a friend of mine that says it's interesting. Some people use that old term, go jump in a lake. It's a whole different meaning to me now. And she said that, this is working on your frozen heart. This is what's happening. And when I'm in that water, it feels like a different dimension to me. The only thing I can compare it to slightly is my very last ayahuasca experience, which was the most profound, when I left this dimension finally, after I took the right amount of special sauce. And
special sauce.
It felt like home, because I've always been told by friends that know me that, man, you're pretty uncomfortable in this human suit. This is you got nomadic feet. You've never felt at home or rooted anywhere. You're always moving around. And that's what my spirit likes. My spirit I'm a nomad, I guess. But this is grounding me in a way. And what I can tell you is, yesterday and today I went to this other lake to go for a walk deep in the woods, and just what's happening with my relationship with nature and keeping my phone, because I do a lot of digital video. I take a lot of nature and water shots. I'm not doing that so much. And these past 2 days, man, you probably don't remember this, but I think the second show I did with you, I talked about, I'm just not a guy that is that has the connections, and I don't see elementals, I don't have galactic, I
Right.
don't have guides, I don't feel any of that stuff, but
Right.
something still keeps me pushing forward in this space and this integrity. And that's why I'm so attracted to this community. I'm in a space right now where it's like, I didn't choose that. That wasn't my soul path. It was to be more of just going on instinct. And that changed the past 2 days. And I think it's because of the lake dives. I walked up to a tree and I put my ear to it and I could hear a lot of stuff going on in it. I was putting my forehead down on moss. I would clean the snow off and put my head on the moss and try and ground because I didn't want to take my shoes off. And all these things are coming, and all this, I just call it life force. My life force has changed completely from this exercise, from this modality, from this therapy, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty profound, and it came to me at the right time from the right person. And, I feel blessed. I will tell you this. I had to take a couple cold showers when I left here for a few days, and I didn't like them, man. They were hard. The showers were
Really?
harder for me. Yeah.
Really?
There's something
So,
about immersing completely and having nature around me that feels more comfortable than
right.
in a shower.
How do you correlate? Okay, so this started what? Into sometime late January, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So is there any correlation in your mind to what we all experienced, coming out of 2022? Like all that force of nature, all the shedding, all the releasing, all the shadows, all the expansions, everything. Do you feel like, because I mean, looking at you and watching that first one, especially, and even the energy of this one that I wanted to put up, it feels like you're in this serenity, like you're coming in comfortable in your own skin, maybe,
Yeah.
or
I think that's a good way of putting it. I never thought about the word serenity. Should have thought that's my father's favorite word, but I would say there is serenity. There's a serenity element to my spirit now. I will say I have worked hard on just letting go and stop wanting what everybody else has and just saying, I'm just going to trust my journey. And things have been falling away, kind of in line with our friends in the community. My beautiful relationship ended in October, and I moved from there to here. This place opened up for me. So I've been in a place of solitude. And then in 2 days after Christmas, I was laid off. 18 of us from my technology company were laid off. And that has created just this space. All I have is this cottage and this lake and this road and
wow.
my morning trips to get coffee from the gas station, just so I can be around some people and say hello, and but yeah, I would say serenity is a really good word, Todd, for what's unfolding.
Well, I just look at it, and like in the mirrors, everyone's a mirror for me, right? I mean, for all of us, right? And as serene as you are, and it's a very obvious. You don't even have to hardly speak about it. You're emitting it. Just with what you said and what I know about last year for everybody, you're actually, it's not just that you're in this serene state, but you're in this serene state after going through a lot of intensity. I mean, you closed out a beautiful long relationship. A lot of couples went their separate ways during that time period. I know things like that, and I'm sure there was other things, but how do you look back on that, all that stuff now? Do you have any charge, or is there a reverence?
There's a reverence that's, I just think, just rooted in trust. Everything that seems hard and uncomfortable, I can look back, and I've had a lifetime of that. I really have. It's certainly not been a charmed life. It's been full of trauma and disappointment and loss, a lot of early loss. My mom died when I was 3. My brother died when I was 18. I had a lot of addiction and trauma that I was dealing with. But there has been the past couple years just more of a trust and not looking to everybody else's experience to define what I should be experiencing. The ending of the relationship has actually turned into a beautiful relationship. We made an agreement that first our awareness was that we weren't growing together anymore. And it's a beautiful, fun, dynamic, very gentle, a lot of childlike moments, but we just stopped growing individually. And what has happened since then is the solitude that I've had, and she's been having her own space. I would call we're kind of in an in-between space now. I go see her a couple times a month, and there's just a sweetness to it. There's just a beauty, and reconnecting with my best friend and the person I trust dearly. And we have some boundaries that we set in place when we see each other, and we're just honoring each other. We both want each other to be happy, and that's the most important thing. And the priority for that is just our own self-care and not being, any type of stress to the other person. So
Yeah.
I'm seeing that change. I'm seeing all my relationships are changing just by me focusing on me and
right.
letting everybody just do their own thing, and not, the pandemic was brutal for me. It definitely put a separation between myself and my siblings, and the choices that I made and didn't make were really painful. And I felt like I
think even you said, if I'm not mistaken, even you with your partner too, right? When we talked before. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow,
yeah, we both made different decisions, and I felt quite alone. And I got to tell you, man, the only thing I had was Soulogy, right? I had like-minded people that that's why Mulberry was so beautiful last summer, because I got to meet, a handful of these people that I'd become so fond of and feel like family to me. And, that got me through it, but it's got me on a course right now, dude, where I got no GPS. No GPS for me. I'm just saying, what's going to happen
thriving
today?
in suspended animation, right? No, there's a lot to be said for, of course, quality over quantity. So whether it be in the time that you have with your best friend, which also sounds very open, is the way you describe it. It's just like organic, I guess, which is phenomenal. But also, even like what you're talking about with Mulberry Mountain, it's not always about the numbers. It's about the concentration of the energy, and some connections of kindredness and soul connectivity, monadic connectivity, soul tribe, whatever you want to call it, carry a very concentrated, like proactive kind of not proactive kind of thing when they come together. I think that gathering was definitely that. And then you have an individual story, which is cool, with your relationship. And then you have your story, which is kind of encapsulated to me with these dips into the frozen pond. But overall, I think the reason that I was, like reached out to you, because I could feel the energy of it. And I think it demonstrates what we're all doing, which is, really putting ourselves first, which is the best thing we can do for everything and everyone outside of us. And the path to that point where you're exhibiting the serenity is to face every part of you, I guess. I mean, I know you're serious about, and as we all are, about growing. And but I think that's part of your story too, is you're doing the work, right?
Yeah. There you go.
Cynthia Moradian, she said Keith was a beacon of light at the Soulogy Fest. His voice and guitar playing was so beautiful. There we go.
Thank you. Yeah, that that whole Soulogy Fest was, man, the contrast of experiences was I felt like I felt like it was a month long almost.
Really?
There was a lot. I was going through a lot. Even in the last day, I had a killer migraine, and some of the beautiful goddess sisters were doing their magic work on it. And I think that mountain was I think it's a bit too powerful for me, or it was. Although I'd like to go back after studying some more about it. But man, it was like really, really long days. And I was staying very close to it. I was, if you go down the mountain towards like your town of Ozark again, but you take your first left, I was staying at a
Right.
really cool Airbnb there. And the guy said, well, when you get to the end of this road, that's Mulberry Mountain Road, take a left, go to Ozarks. You can get your little cache to get your little hot cart stuff when you get there, and then just turn around and come back the same way. I did that. Somehow I ended up 30 minutes completely out of the way. That road shifted on me and I was
Dude,
following directions. I was like, what?
it
I mean, it
happens.
was,
I know what
yeah,
he's telling you, because you basically you go to Ozark, get what you need, I guess, and then you go straight up the mountain.
that's it.
I want to say it's 16 miles, but the same thing happened to me. The
Hmm.
same thing happened to me the night that I was there. Uh, and there was no explanation. It happened to Sandra and Alan too. So yeah. And I think again, these stories are so important that are happening in let's say the present or the very recent past, because there's so many elements that are coming into our lives, and it's not and that are beyond human, I guess, or beyond our reality, and they're just kind of trickling in very subtly. So whether it be a magic mountain or a phase of expansion and liberation and sovereignty, which is what we're all doing. I mean, there's just bringing all these elements in, no different than when you climb out of that cold pond and you're hyper super sensitized in all regards, right? And even
Dude,
like the thing
thank,
you said about the trees. Go ahead.
yeah. No, I was gonna say thank you for saying that, because the people I'm still very close to from the Mulberry, from the Soulogy Fest, I'm always interested and blown away by their connection and their experiences and their relationships with Great Spirit. And I finally got mine. I got mine in the frozen water. It didn't have to look like anybody else's. And I wanted it to for a very long time. And I would, kick a rock down the road cussing, why can't I, can I get a guide here? Can I get something? Can a squirrel come
Yeah.
talk to me? Nothing, not a thing. And it was just waiting for my time. It was just finding out what I had set in motion for myself before incarnating here, right? And trusting my own unfoldment, my own flowering. And it feels timely. It feels right. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see what happens in an hour, let alone tomorrow.
Right. Wow. Oh, yeah, I have to give you another compliment from Hung Nguyen. She says, I can confirm that Keith is a lovely man. You get my stamp of approval. And I think there's only like 6 stamps in the entire world that she's actually stamps approval. And she signs off as Pimp Hung. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I like the way you put that I'm excited to see what's going to happen next, not tomorrow or the next day or the next day.
I've
But
had these songs. I've had these songs, Todd, for some of them for years. Leaving the rock and roll scene and playing with bands for most of my adult life, and then reshifting my focus to my internal work in spirit some years back. I haven't had anybody to play with, and so I've been writing all this music, and there's been no lyrics. I haven't been able to put lyrics to anything for 4 or 5 years. They're now starting to come.
wow.
Because I'm realizing again, it's that divine timing. I didn't have much to say back then. I was confused. I was unsure of myself. I knew that I felt drawn to this path, but again, I didn't have any guides. I was too busy getting caught up in what everybody else was experiencing, and I wasn't. So that's coming along now too. And I'm in this place that, this place showed up on my radar magically, and it's completely gifted from spirit, right?
Yeah.
Everything that I've struggled with for years is now being addressed. here in this time, in this space, in my specific special time.
Right.
And man, I'm just so grateful, you know?
So it all fell into place. Would you describe it as it all fell into place when you found yourself?
When I found myself,
Like that,
I would say
all that clicked in that you were talking about. Oh, I don't have any guides. Not that that's necessary. You know what I mean? But like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? I don't know. I just keep going back to that pond. I'm thinking, wow, that's something going on there. That's like a symbol of it all. Almost like the way you did it was like, it was, God, what is it? What would the way you could put it? In other words, there was no choice. You had to do it. You
Right.
had to do it. And you didn't jump in. You just went in almost like a death, almost like walking to your death.
Oh,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
man.
Yeah, because that's what shocked me. I thought, damn, he's not even flinching. He's just boom, 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 you know, very
You know, what's
calm.
interesting that you said that it just clicked to me. So that was spirit led as well. So I think when I posted the first video, I wanted to make it clear that I'm not a extreme adventure guy type of thing. But when it comes to well-being, I'll do something that I do research on. And if it's an alternative healing, then I'll consider it. And, you know, going 10 years ago to India for a month and bathing in cow urine and getting tubes stuck down my urethra so they can put plant medicine in there, and having guys walk on your back hanging from a rope. These are all things I do that are really uncomfortable, but I'm doing it because I truly believe in energetics and that type of healing, and healing from what grows on this planet for us. And that's what this was about for the most part. I wanted to see how I felt, first and foremost, my well-being after getting out of that water. Secondly, it was a challenge, right? But it wasn't like, you know, online, I see a lot of people just doing it to show that I can do it. I'm going to, you know, and for me, it wasn't about that. It was like, I want to see what comes on the other side of this. I want to see if my, you know, you're supposed to get the circulation is supposed to improve all over your body.
Right.
There's like 25 different benefits from this thing, really, really profound benefits that people are experiencing. Lyme disease is being treated with it, all kinds of stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So, yeah, but yeah, I know, I think answering your original question there, yeah, I think the calmness, I don't think I was as calm as it showed on the video. That's great that it didn't, because there was a couple things there. I was saying some F's in there, and I was.
Were you really? It looked calm
yeah.
to me. It looked, yeah. So like in terms of like, because everybody's been faced, you know, obviously over the last 10 years, you know, some more, some less with, you know, with the work, shadow work and zero pointing, you know, I mean, your story certainly speaks to, you know, all the qualities of, you know, what so many people here are experiencing for themselves, one or the other, you know, facing stuff, expanding, like we talked about earlier. But do you feel like, because, you know, I would imagine there's some significance between December 21st, 2012 and December 21st, 2022, that 10-year period. Some people talked about it. Like we were literally stepped into the new world, literally. That's a big difference from 2022, what we're experiencing in 2023. Do you feel like that you have brought into alignment the majority of, let's just say, of your shadow, the vast majority of your shadow, or all of your shadow at this point?
Wow, I would say maybe a little more than vast majority. I'm still completely open to, and I'm working with somebody on that. I've been so open. I take nothing personally. I even, if I get an idea or the message that this is something trauma-based that I'm projecting, or that other people that are in my life that are close to me are experiencing from me, I go and ask all of them. especially my daughters. I'm like, is this how I would come off? Would I not listen to you in the way that you needed me to? Would I not hold the space for you that was necessary? And I have this thirst to just be an instrument of peace and love, because I know for a fact that I'm supposed to be in service of my fellow man. And I want to be just this clean circuit of love, of God's love. I want to be a love cell of God, what we all are, right? And I want to be able to know how I come off. I've asked my lovely in-between to put a letter together of every way I made her feel. And she's choosing to put the great things in there too as well. And she goes, are you sure you want to know this? And I said, yeah, I do. I need to know it, because ultimately I want to know what I'm responsible for and
what you missed. Yeah. What you missed.
What I missed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I feel close, dude. I feel close. I feel like just because of my open heart and really being, just being honest with myself and saying, don't take it personally. This is how you made somebody feel, or this is where you missed the mark with somebody, and owning it. And not beating myself up.
Well, that's what I was going to take it to was, does it, that not taking it personal apply to yourself? I mean, has it, as a result, have you been able to apply it to yourself, or has the self-judgment alleviated basically? So you've accepted yourself, and you've gained a wider acceptance by asking those people that interacted with you, how you made them feel, which is very cool, very brave too, especially to involve other people.
Well, and it's only recent I can say that I've been able to feel the trigger response, and my typical thing will be, wait a second, that sounds like your shit. That's not mine. That's coming from your own trauma, and you're projecting it on me. And I'm just, I don't do that anymore either, because for me, it's like, that just seems so complex. And that's when the wheels start turning and I start storytelling, and it doesn't do anybody good. So I'll apologize. Yeah. That's been the biggest issue with my trauma throughout my life, is just endless storytelling, bouncing off my head, in my head. And what I'm working with a dear sister now on doing is moving into the heart, right? Is moving out of the head into the heart, letting the heart lead. And I do that by saying, okay, I just felt a trigger. Don't respond, breathe into it. Send love and say, okay, I get that. And if I have to leave, excuse myself with my former partner, for example, just to get a bit of space, and then come back and say, I love you. I get that. I'm sorry that I came off that way, or that I wasn't, here's something I found out, because my mom passed when I was 3 and I had 5 siblings. And my father was an alcoholic. I was told that I missed something very important, which is called the mirroring stage. That, when you're 2 years old and you're looking in the mirror and you're playing with that little person in the mirror, you don't think that's you. You haven't made that, because until you're like 3 years old, apparently you think you're your mother. You think you're her skin, her smell, her hair, her breast, everything. And she said that was interrupted for me after my mom passed. And, because I had an 8-month-old brother and a six-year-old brother and a 10-year-old sister and a 14-year-old brother, and my father was a drinker trying to keep everything together. I went from 3 years of being part of my mother to she's gone and nobody's really knows what to do, right? So I had all that stuff to deal with, and I actually told this lady I'm working with the other day, I said, I'm really tired of it all going back to my childhood trauma. I feel like I'm in a place. Can we just move past that now? It was a soul contract. That's what it was. This was by design for this to happen. I'm sure we both agreed upon this, and it's supposed to help us both expand into whatever experience or soul purpose that we have. So it's getting easier, I think, Todd, just to say this, that I just trust everything now. Everything has a purpose that I don't have to understand at this point. not just handle like a champ, just go in there with love and say, okay, you know what, I'm feeling triggered again, but I sure as hell don't want to react like I used to, because that gets me nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as we've gone deeper and deeper and deeper, and you're like, oh my God, self-judgment's leaving, or this is leaving, or that's leaving. But I think when it gets right down to it, in terms of, being a quantum thought creator, creating our experience through our thoughts, which now that they're less tainted, less prejudice, less bias, less judgmental, etc., more compassion coming in. I mean, it's come down to trust. It really, when you said that, I mean, it's really come down to trust. If I don't trust you, if I don't trust anything external, and I'm speaking from a certain perspective, I don't trust the universe. So we've all had these yo-yo fluctuations over the last 10 years. And again, some less, some more. But I think one thing that's become more and more constant is we become more stable, more balanced. And that's a result of this whole trust thing. But ultimately, it's trusting yourself, right? I mean, that's where it's come for me. But it's like, okay, well, what does that mean? And I'm talking to the universe, and I hear, you've been trusted with all that is. You're made in the image. You've been trusted with that, yet you don't trust, kind of thing. Which ultimately, myself. I mean, it's weird, but we don't trust each other. How the fuck can you run a planet like that? You can't.
Well said. I think that's beautiful. And that's where I am right now. It's just, no matter how confusing it looks to me, or the choices somebody makes, it's just like, I got to trust that they're following their inner guidance, and they're rolling out their soul path just like I am. Their journey looks very different than mine.
Right.
But I don't judge it. I honor it. I try and honor it. And I try and come from a place of love, because I'm not coming from love, and it's not trust, right? I think trust is rooted in love.
Trust is love. To me, it is love, truth, trust, freedom. I remember spitting those words out 10 years ago on doing, little rhymes and shit. But yeah, I mean, that's really what it boils down to. I mean, Judith Kuzel, and by the way, everybody, Judith Kuzel is not well. I don't know. I don't want to paint any pictures here, but when Judith Kuzel says, players, please send prayers. And she was on the show, just, she comes on about once a month. And she was talking in a very general way about health issues. So I just like to take a moment just to join me in this circle of life with all of our guides and angels. And we put her in the center of this circle. And we send her in equanimity, healing, peace, love, comfort, and love and light. Yeah. Anyway, I forgot. I'm sorry. I had made a mental note to say something.
No, I'm glad you did.
I
saw her post, but yeah.
Well, what she was saying on the show, she said a lot in 2 hours. Best show we ever did. We probably done 30. And she says, it's time to walk the talk. Now, we have all these cliches, and I just got to say that, and I'm doing it. No, I think this is what she's talking about. I think what she's talking about is trusting everything from the soul perspective. So issues like war, issues like, do I need to have a gun in my house? They become obsolete because they're only there from fear. There's no other reason for it. Not even if we want to go walk through the jungle and we want to protect ourselves from animals. Trust. How do you not know that some tigers, 800-pound tigers, are going to come out and snap you in half, and the next thing you know, you're coming out of a a chicken egg on some planet, you know, and you're born into, you know what I mean? I mean, you don't know. And so I really feel like that when we talk about that, that is to operate and truly embody from that level of trust. Like, oh no, I want to be human, you know, a couple hours a day. You know, when I say human, I'm talking about being on the pity pot, being victim conscious, whatever. No, it's not that. This isn't that painful. Your ice pond swims, or whatever you call them, are a perfect metaphor. We can't postpone what people call death, and we can't, you know, and really, it's like we can do what we can do based on our thoughts, but there's a certain out of my hands thing, right? And that's the part that we don't trust, that we make up, and that becomes these monsters, and everybody carry a gun, and you know, and whatever, you know. But yeah, I think that was a really good thing what you said. Thank you.
You know, I think in tune with that, Todd, is, I kind of said a little bit earlier, but it almost becomes a blanket trust of everything. And what I've experienced, the amount of peace and the amount of peace I've got by trusting. I had a friend that I had to write set last week that, you know, a few years ago, her and I were deep into the conspiracies and following everything and all the channels. And she's still part of that. It's still something that's important to her, and I honor that. And she'll send me things now and then, and I have to write back, say, not interested, not interested. Now that one I caught interested, because I told her, I said, it's just not an interesting place for me to hang out anymore, because I trust that everything that's going on needs to go on. And I don't need to know why. I'm done trying to figure out why, because there's way too many different theories out there. It changes every day. I just know that, guess what? This has given me back so much time for my own self-work. And is that what people are doing out there? Are we getting so consumed by those events out there and what's happening, because we're trying to avoid what we need to be doing, which is our own self journey, for God's sake? When I finally made that my priority, and I still got a lot of work to do. I need to meditate more and a bunch of this stuff, but it's letting go of everything out there and trusting it all. Not only does it give me peace and freedom, that stuff doesn't even show up in my experience anymore until somebody puts it in front of me. And I'm like, thanks, no thanks.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. That really is. Because really, if you think about it, it's always such a paradox. I look at it this way. This is my own thinking. I'm not saying it's gospel, but everything external of me is the universe, right? Everything external of me is my twin flame. And I mean, I'm not saying that, you know what I mean by that. Like, I don't work against anything there unless I have that in my head, or, you know, everything's a collaboration, or however you want to put it. So everything too, therefore the paradox, is a potential distraction, including my closest relationship. Why? Because I might project to create the distraction. These things are unconscious to us. And this is all the stuff that we're unraveling. But to go back to what you said and to connect it all, you said, I don't know what people are doing, but is this what they're doing? Yes, this is fucking A, this is what they're doing. And I think what's happening now, and what I'm talking about is the self-reliance, the self-accountability, the self-responsibility, the trust in the power that's been given to them, which we already have, which the only thing holding it up is we don't trust it. When's the shoe going to drop? And I think that, you know, what you're exhibiting and what you're talking about, and these people that we're referring to, all of our friends, we're starting to see real results. They don't make sense in the linear world. You know, it doesn't make sense that you could be in the best and highest frequency with your in between than you've ever been. You know what I mean? Less time together, but more quality, you know, concentration again, right? It's fascinating.
It is.
It really is. It's all fascinating.
It all comes from trust.
Yeah.
Man, it's so heavy to be untrusting of I mean, it's an addiction, because then you're just judging. You're just in judgment the whole time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the deal killer. Well, the judgment is what creates the stories, and the stories create the distraction. And again, the paradox, the coding's in the story, but it's from the perspective of an openness. It's the same energy that we've had with ourselves, or that we've been led to with ourselves, which is what I call the brutal honesty of the soul. Morgan and I were talking about this yesterday, and I was reflecting on kind of the stuff we're talking about. And I said, when I started this thing for myself, I did a lot of stuff up front, and I had a lot to do afterward, don't get me wrong. But the thing is that I knew I was making progress as I was eating humble pie and shit in a lot of situations that I just had to shut up and take, by the humility that I felt myself. And I think that's what I see. I'm starting to see more and more people, or characteristics of different attributes of let's say ascension or transformation. But one of the big ones is humility. And I'm seeing it on these shows. I'm seeing it in you right now.
I love that word too.
You can't fake it. You cannot fake it. You cannot fake humility.
That's a second word that humility and serenity on this session here, man. These are diamonds, brother.
Well, hopefully you'll write 2 songs. One will be called Serenity, and one will be Humility.
I got one new riff I was working on the other day. The word that came to me was Soulogy. So I might be sending you something here shortly.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many people. I mean, you speak beautifully, man. I get so inspired by the way people describe love and what we're going through, and expansion. And there's so much potential for that in music right now. So much potential in that. And I want to be a big part of that. I mean, the biggest part of me wants to be.
I think it's important. I don't
really
think
is.
people, I really don't, I didn't. And I've loved music since I was 5 years old, 4 years old, whatever. One of the things that I think is really coming on board fast is sound, music, color, vibration, all the whole thing. Sacred geometry is linked in there. I don't understand it all, but I can participate in it and I can get it. And it's as good a code as any code I get, because it's reinforcing I'm going to describe it in my own terms, reinforcing the dormant, real neural pathways that my soul human has of ancient connection with sound, music, healing, color, whatever, how those multi streams can come in and create these newer and newer and newer. I just picture like a tort, right? Like, what is it called? Toroidal field.
Yeah.
And every time it just keeps power up. We think we're apart, power up. We keep coming back, power up. But these moments where, especially spontaneously, where people create things and put things out, or even things they produce. I mean, so much code in that. I mean, it's like you don't even know. I mean, it's so. I mean, if you think about like television when it came out, or movies, and all the subliminal, right? And even today. But this is the other side of it. This is the positive side of it. What about so a lot of people, God, this is hard to pose this question, frame it up. So there seems to be like everything is slowing down. Time is taking on a different or diminishing aspect. There's less of a urge to, obviously get on the conveyor belt of life in the corporate, that's kind of, but there's also this kind of gray area. I don't know if you can relate to this, that there's a new power coming out in terms of creative expression, which, life is art itself. So it's all the same thing. And you don't quite know what to do. Part of you wants to go, come on, let's go. But the other person's going, no, hang on a second, man. This is any place I've been in a while. So could be many, many years, or many lives, whatever. But you know what I mean? Like almost like you don't know what to do, but you know something's coming and you're going to fall right in with it. Does that make sense?
It does. Makes complete sense. You know, I had to prepare. I'm paying quite a bit of money right now for an engineer online to give me Logic, which is Apple's recording software. You know, Pro Tools out there, Logic Pro. I've hit Ty up a couple of times to ask him his thoughts on 432 tuning and stuff, but I had to pay one entire session for him just to help me figure out how to record in Logic using the loops and all the other MIDI instruments that are all 440, right? I want them to be 432 because that's what I've been playing in for 10 years now. And I believe it is the God's note, God's tuning, and 440 is a distorted frequency, which everything else is written in. Matter of fact, quickly, there's a guy on YouTube that takes all the songs that we love, that we grew up on, and he tunes them down to 432. I don't know if you heard, he's got Journey in 432.
Yeah, I've heard of this guy. Somebody's mentioned. I mean, I had a couple of them mention it to me on the show.
But that's part of what you're talking about. You know, it was the same ayahuasca maestro guy. That first session I did in Costa Rica, what I was blown away was by the music. Once the plant medicine, after 45, 50 minutes, you do your vomiting, and then your experience happens. He's playing this stuff on a sitar, and he's playing this music that doesn't sound like it's from planet Earth, but he takes this vibrational, he hits these notes that you don't hear on this planet. He goes in between notes with his fingers and does something, and then all of a sudden all of our heads go, ugh. The vibration of it is, that was when I first said the power of music is blowing my mind. The ability for it to heal and to connect and bond and transmute everything. It's it goes back to what we were just saying. It's going to be a highly important role coming on this planet now, is conscious music.
Well, and so much of it is in that intuitive, telepathic, collaborative, creative, flower of life connectivity, and especially in those moments, and this can be in a conversation, it can be in a like somebody in the studio with 3 or 4 people, or it can be a lot of different ways, but it's where we're like totally present and tuned in, right? Like totally present with each other, and there's almost like a hive mind, and I guess you would say it's a third energy, right? Where 2 or more gather and something starts happening, things start happening. And that's what I was saying at the beginning of the show with what you were talking about too, is there's a lot of stuff coming in, be it visions, be it sensitivities, be it, I mean, how many people, if we asked, have had an increase in frequencies of synchronicities throughout their days today, as opposed to a year ago, 2 years ago, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's amazing. So it's just
crazy. Is. That's what makes me trust and be excited. Don't care about a GPS. I can't wait to see what next week brings. I got no plans. I got nothing on my calendar. But I know that I'm going to learn something from that lake each morning. I know that my walks, I know that every time I pick up that guitar, I know that every time I feel a trigger, meet it with love and send love to that person that triggered me. I just know that stuff just keeps unfolding, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What a ride. What a fucking ride, man.
Yeah, it's like as time goes on too, everything that we say, do, maybe that's the other word, or do is first, and then say, and before that, think, is we're starting to have a pause and think about it before we do it, before we say it, before or after we think it, go, oh, whatever, or maybe we don't think about it anymore because we've let all that go. Because there is something about where you're talking about, even like if we put it in the music context, where you not only you let go of even how to do that, even though you got to play a note in the next 3 seconds, or come up with an improvised freestyle that rhymes. You know what I mean? Like you got to let go. And that's how I think our life is now, is, this is what we have. This is it. And I'm, I find, where's everything where's everything placed? Where's my time? Where's my focus? And yeah, I'd like to see things change. I'd like to be, living in a, big villa with a nice heated saltwater pool with this hot Australian lady. but that isn't, like, there's something about the present is becoming enough, I guess is what I'm saying. You don't lose
Trust
anything.
goes back to trust.
Yeah, trust.
Goes back to trust. It's a space between the notes that makes the music, right? I love what you just said about the space. The space is becoming sacred and necessary.
Yeah.
And it's the triggers. I think if we could all work on the triggers to say, I'm not gonna let my gremlin automatically respond to that. I'm gonna take a little bit of space here. It's just golden. There is so much power and so much wisdom in that space. Yeah, man. I think I'm going to do a Valentine's Day little just live of 70s and 80s love songs.
Really?
And what I've been doing with these songs is I've been slowing them way down. And there's a lot of space, almost where sometimes the chord will resonate and end, and then I come back in. And doing that in 432 and getting into a space of love is changing the way these songs are, I think, being delivered. And I'm so glad you said that about space, because I'm trying to do it with everything. I take spaces. My breath is a space as I'm going down to the water. I'm breathing. I'm being very conscious and aware. I'm taking space and I'm being silent before I go in there. I'm honoring the water. Wow. I'm not rushing in, rushing out.
But again, what a great metaphor. I mean, what's the difference between me walking outside of this little apartment and not, and intending and having that gratitude each step of the way, so to speak. But a lot of the stuff, a lot of the stuff that we're experiencing, I think everybody's experiencing is just kind of in a different way. Like even when you're talking about with the triggers, I mean, and again, I have a different perspective maybe because of what I do, but I'm watching people. There's less emphasis on what triggered me. And there's more emphasis on the possibility of me projecting. Because what has created what we call a trigger, I can't take it away, right? It's there. So now either I can engage it with projection, which even if I'm right, doesn't make it right because they did this, so I'm going to do that. So it becomes more of to me anyway, that it's not even a question of what came at me. What came at me is there. There's nothing I can do. But what I can not do is project, because that will diffuse the situation. I think you basically took us through that at about the 10-minute mark on this show. You were talking about something like that.
It almost sounds like they feel like gifts at times. Here, I'm going to throw this typical trigger that you would respond to in the past, and see how you respond to it. And the way that you're talking about going through it is a beautiful way of doing it.
What is it?
Well, it's space and trust, right?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something to trigger me.
Oh, I have no idea what your triggers are.
I don't know what they are. Man, it was good seeing you, brother.
You too, man. Thank you for getting me on.
Hey, we're going to be doing more, this has been, but yeah, Susan Bornstein's coming on in 45 minutes. That's another thing too.
Yeah.
Like the whole scheduling kind of thing. I mean, I'm diving into it again today, but I can only do it in spurts. It doesn't happen very often, but it's like, you can't really, it's hard to assemble this new earth with, still some of the threads of the old, like, oh, you got to schedule, you got to do this, you got to do that. But yeah, we'll get there.
Hey, it's all trust. When you hit me up last night, I'm thinking, oh, I can't do it Sunday, but I guess I can do it tomorrow. And then, by the way, I apologize because I was in bed when you messaged me. And then when I responded, or when you responded, I fall asleep. So I respond this morning, and then hours went by, I didn't hear back from you. And I was like, today's not the day. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And it ended up being the day.
Yeah. Well, my brother came in, Ryan Aguilar came in, and we ended up staying up till 3 or 4.
Nice.
and he's got a gig here in town. So we just had some coffee and some light snack. But yeah, I don't usually stay up that late, or I would have seen it earlier and we would have been on an hour before, hour and a half.
No, it was perfect timing. It's
But
just
we'll do it
trust,
again
man.
soon.
Everything works out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll do it
man.
again soon, and yeah, and maybe get in some other collaborations, and because it's like that's a great thing too about artistic expressions is you don't have to talk about it. You can just
Exactly.
you can rhyme about it or sing it, but I mean you don't have to. We can get the heart speaks many ways, and I believe that's proven. Like through history. I mean, even if you look at all the civilizations, poetry, music, sound, dance. I mean, there's just so many examples, right?
And the
All right, brother.
silence. All right, man. Appreciate you,
Good
brother.
seeing you,
Big
man.
love to you, Todd.
All right, man.
Take
Try
care,
not to get
man.
too cold in there. Don't shrivel up.